Hi, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today we are having our monthly network meeting for people who are, I think, do we have anybody new? Anybody here today, your first time in our meetings? We meet the third Monday of the month consistently at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific. And we have different guests covering different topics. And we were talking with Lily that we have been doing this for 5 years. So welcome everyone today. And we have Merle with us to do some work on somatic work and supervision. So thank you, Merle, for accepting the invitation to doing this. You have been also supporting us, participating in our conferences. And what would you like people to know about you?
All right. Well, I'm located in Northern California, an hour and a half north of San Francisco. And I've been in this area for a long time. I'm an MCC. I'm also a master somatic coach. And I'm waiting for my ESIA patiently for my credential to come from the EMCC. But I've just started saying I am one. The power of declaration. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about resilience. And as I was writing the introduction, I thought, oh, this is I7. What systemically is affecting us? So we have a lot to cover. It's going to be a bit of a sprint today through this because I want to be sure that we have time in the end to do a resilience practice. So I'm just going to jump right in here. Get myself organized to share my screen. All right, how's this? You all can see this?
Yes, we can see it.
Good. All right, thanks for that. And I'm going to get up something else. All right, so resilience. And as I defined it, the strength that helps us thrive. Now, I come from a discourse or a tradition of embodied transformation. So I'm going to say some things today about what embodied transformation is and isn't, what somatics is and isn't, and that every discourse has its own set of distinctions and way that they observe the world. So I'm not saying any are lesser. I'm just saying that in this discourse of embodied transformation that I'm in the lineage of, this is the way that we put together somatics.
So maybe for your presentation, do you want to make any presentation mode so we see only the slide instead of seeing all of the small slides on the side?
How's that?
Not that one, because here we see it twice for some reason.
Yeah, okay. I think it's speaker. Oh, wrong one, hold on. Oh, need to burn my.
Yes, that's it.
Cool. So today we're going to do a little bit of a sprint in the beginning here. I'll make these slides available, Lily, so if people want this, they can have it. But today I'm going to talk about what embodied transformation is and how is it the same and different from somatics. We hear this word somatic used a lot. Oh, I'm a somatic practitioner. Oh, somatics. Oh, somatics. So I'm going to draw a distinction between embodied transformation and somatics. And then what resilience is and what resilience is not. And then the last one is cultivating resilience on purpose. So why are we here? And as I said, this has been I7. So COVID's been a major disruption to our psychobiologies, dissolved many of the structures we took for granted, the way that we were used to moving in the world. Now we can say that, oh, it's always uncertain what's going to happen next, but there's certain routines and regularities that our bodies and our minds become used to. So many of those dissolved with COVID, especially in 2020, including human contact. There were people who didn't see other people for months, and we're not wired for that. And these disruptions continue. There's new variants, the social economic consequences of COVID, the geopolitical environmental forces. There's a lot of stuff in the world that comes at us. And I also want to include here, especially in 2020 and 21, the impact was really hardest on communities of color and disadvantaged populations because they don't have the resources that other communities have. And the essential workers who went to work day after day in very challenging times. Now, at one point, the number of people who were dying from COVID, more people were Black and brown. This is a reference to the New York Times that's in 2022 that said that demographic had changed, that more white people had died. And they felt that that was because politically in the US, this is a US survey, what happened in the US in terms of politically with being vaccinated, as well as tremendous grassroots efforts in some of the underprivileged or disimpoverished communities to get them vaccinated. But this has also had many, many people ask the question during this time, who am I? What do I care about? And also, how can I help? One of the things about resilience is that people helping each other, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So I did some mental health coaching for a couple of years, and it wasn't uncommon for people to have a certain malaise. I just don't know what matters to me anymore. So it disrupted a lot. And as I said, maybe you're seeing this theme for yourself or in your clients. So we are going to do a brief centering practice. And we center here at the bottom, it says, when we connect with the evolutionary intelligence of the body, with the mind and spirit, powerful change and healing is possible. So we're going to center for a moment here. We're going to center, and we center to get present to ourselves. I could use one too here now. So we get centered to get present to ourselves and others, to be open to what's happening in the present, in the now for us, both emotionally and somatically, sensations, to connect to ourselves and others, and on purpose, that we organize ourselves around what we care about. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and lead us through a brief centering practice here. So if you've been with me before, you know the power of the breath. So first of all, bring your awareness or your intention into your body and feel the weight of yourself on the chair, the pressure of your thighs on the chair. Then allow your breath to calm. Now feel or visualize breathing into the lower third of your lungs. That you're bringing your breath lower. And keep noticing what relaxes as you feel your breath dropping. Now I want you to feel and visualize the muscles around your eyes softening and relaxing. And again, keep noticing as we relax what happens with your breath and its ability to be lower in your body. Now feel or visualize the muscles around your jaw softening. Your tongue. We're designed so there's space between our teeth. If you want, you can open and close your mouth and see if that releases your jaw. Just being with your breath and the weight of your body on the chair. Now place your attention on something that feels somewhat grounding or resourceful for you. It could be your feet on the ground. Your buttocks in a chair. Your heart or your breath. It could be something outside yourself, something that's familiar. A place that offers you stability. And now as we come back, you open your eyes, connect with everyone on the call by bringing your attention to the screen and the faces of the others to come to you and into focus. Appreciating this community that we create, that we've created together. All right. I can get my, this is what I want to share. All right, can you guys see some what is embodied transformation?
Yes, we can see well.
Okay, good, thank you. So embodied transformation, or this tag word somatics. So what we say in embodied transformation is it's a path or a methodology. Some people call it a change theory, by which we can embody transformation individually and collectively. The important thing here is that it shows up consistently over time in our actions, our ways of being, how we relate to the world, and how we perceive the world. So it's a change that's consistent over time. Especially under pressure, we can act and be and relate consistent with our values. So if I were to say, you know, I'm respectful of everybody and I want to dignify what happens, and in some moment when I'm triggered, I become this raging maniac, that would be a place where under pressure, I'm not acting consistent with my values. It happens to me. I have really little control over it. And through embodied transformation, when confronted, I'm able to act and be consistent with this value I have of having not only dignity for myself, but dignity for others. So we react less of the time. We respond with more skillful, purposeful actions more of the time. So that's what is embodied transformation in this discourse. So it's not adding a body-based experience to psychotherapy or an organizing setting. It's not bringing your attention to the body sensations. Embodied transformation includes that, but it's much more. So in the West, we fundamentally live in the separation of mind and body. It has a long history back to Descartes, but that's basically how we live here, and we have a set of cultural practices that support that. And as such, these distinctions around body-based work can get messy. And that anything that has to do with the body can be called somatics. So I'm saying something a little bit different here. So sprinting along here, what's resilience? So it's an inherent capacity that happens before trauma and before hurt, whether it be individually, systemic in communities. So it's an inherent capacity, and it's our capacity to bounce back, to come into a state that's whole, hopeful, and wise. And it's a strength that helps us thrive. Now, usually we hear about resilience in relationship to trauma, systemic trauma or oppression. Oh, that hurricane wiped out Haiti. They're so resilient, they're coming back. That's usually when we see it. But what I'm saying here is that it's an inherent capacity that can be cultivated and practiced. So we move from a hypervigilant state, especially in trauma. People will be hypervigilant, alert, scanning for safety. And their resilience can bring them back to a calm and coherent state. Because when I'm scanning for safety, I'm out here. I'm incoherent to my body. And you will see when we practice here, later on, it's a positive imagination for the future. And it lets us reestablish both safety and connection. So it's just not a thought. It's an embodied way of being. So resilience is not an excuse to deny access or equality into broader systems. Oh, yes, I know that child was abused. She had a very tough bringing, but children, they're so resilient. Oh, yeah. Oh, they're so resilient. Look how they've done this. It's not an excuse. Or is it a justification? Like I said, oh, they're so resilient. I think that sometimes we can say that to numb ourselves to what can be overwhelming, emotionally overwhelming, to see some of the sadness and tragedies. Oh, yeah. It's a way that we disconnect and don't have to feel. Sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, yeah, I'm very resilient. Oh, stiff upper lip. I just hunker down and keep going. That's not resilience. Those are coping strategies. Resilience is that what gives us hope, makes us whole, brings us coherent to ourselves, our body, mind, and spirit. Sometimes you hear people use what's called a spiritual bypass. Oh, it's obviously meant to be. Personally, I don't think that God meant for children to be abused. That's just my personal opinion. But people will say, oh, that it must have meant to be. It must have been your karma. That's another way that keeps us separate from our bodies, our connection to ourselves. In embodied transformation, we don't turn away from what's uncomfortable. We want to be able to build a body that can include and stay with the sensations that are uncomfortable, that are joyous, that are sad, that are invigorating, all while keeping our center around what we care about. So, where do we find our resilience? So there's been a lot of work done on resilience. And for today, when we do our practice, we're going to focus on the work of Alicia Lieberman, who studied the brain development of children under 6 who witnessed trauma. And what she discovered is that these young people were able to make workarounds to those places that their brains are most impacted by witnessing trauma. So from her work, we're going to do a practice here. Let me just see where I am. All right. I just want to say something about one of the previous slides that said helping others. One of the ways we find our resilience is to help others. So Haiti's a great example of right after they had the earthquake or hurricane, sorry, I don't remember which, probably a hurricane, is that the community began to help each other. And they helped each other by rescuing each other, by organizing places where people could eat. And then governments come in and they say, oh no, you have to stop doing that. The government's here, we're going to take care of this, we're going to take care of this. And what that does is that dampers down the resilience of the community. While well-intended, that it doesn't include these communities as part of the rebuilding and recognizing that this is part of the resilience that humans have, this ability to help each other. One of the things that I found is that sometimes after doing a coaching or supervision session, I have a bigger sense of myself and a bigger sense of my purpose. It's a practice that builds that for me. And I think as human, and we are as humans wired for that, is to assist each other. So what's a practice for cultivating resilience? So we tend to track for problems. And as humans, as our psychobiology, we're always tracking for our safety, our belonging, and our dignity. And it starts from very, very young. What do I need to do safe in my family? How can I belong in my family, in my community? And how can I maintain my dignity? So we tend to be tracking for that anyway. And since there's so much of, oh, this isn't working, we can begin to track for that also. But this is a small thing. Seldom do we ask when we see our friends, hey, what's bringing you joy today? A friend of mine told this story about her mother who was dying of cancer. But her mother was still knitting and working with her yarns. And she said, I used to see my mother and go to see her in the living room. And I go, hi, Mom, what color is exciting for you today? What are you making that you're excited about? Or what are you enjoying doing today? And it's a whole 180 degrees of shifting the psychobiology, where it begins to engage other parasympathetic systems to go, oh yeah, what am I enjoying today? And this is small, but it's a way to support our own resilience as well as that of the people that we come in contact with. So before we do our practice here, what she found is that there were these 4 areas that people found their resilience. Excuse me. One was spirituality. Viktor Frankl's a beautiful example of that he found meaning. He found meaning. He had meaning, and he brought that meaning to the situation that he was in. For some people, it's animals. They go, oh, that was for me. I grew up in a household that was a little crazy, and I would get my dog and we'd go into my bedroom and I'd lay on the bed and I'd just be with my dog. And I felt relaxed. I felt seen. I felt heard. It's like this was my place where I could recharge and relax and recharge. For other people, it's nature. People who grew up in the mountains, they'll say things like, oh, when I go back to the mountains, I just feel so alive and at home. It's like, this is my place. And 4th is creativity. When I work with clients in trauma, I'll ask them, where did they go to hide from what was happening? And some will say, oh, I went and I'd listen to music, or I'd write poetry, or I'd draw or do art. So these areas of finding meaning in what we're ourselves and what we're doing, animals, nature, and creativity. This is places where, as individuals, we can find resilience. In communities in South Africa with their Truth and Reconciliation, they had a number of practices in that community of dancing and talking and storytelling that bound them as a community and brought them began to cultivate again the resilience that was emerging there. So what I'd like to do now is a resilience practice, and we're going to spend a few minutes doing that. But before I jump into that, just want to check and see if anybody has any questions about what I've been saying today. All right. Open up my Word document here. Read through this. All right, so I'm going to take us through a resilience practice. And I want to make sure I get all the components here. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do in this practice is choose one of these, an animal, if animals are your resilience, music, art, creativity, spirituality, or nature. So if I were to doing this, generally I do this one-on-one, but we're going to do this in a big group today. So you can do this with your eyes open. You can do this with your eyes closed. But we're going to go to some place, a particular experience that you can remember that brought you resilience. Some place where you remember, oh God, this is good. You could relax. You felt hopeful, free. So what smell do you notice? We're going to really get our bodies into this place. What's it smell like where you are? Now, what sounds are you hearing? Allow that sounds and smells to fill you. And then what emotions present for you? What emotions, sensations are you feeling in your body as you smell and hear and remember this place? Now, as you access your resilience, what in your body has you feel free? What has you feel alive? What has you feel connected, love, or feeling close? And so what's happening in your body as you feel this resilience? Now we're going to turn our resilience to sensations, the emotions. We're going to turn it up. So we're going to turn it up maybe 5 to 7%. So allowing these sensations, these feelings, these emotions, this connectedness, just let it increase like 5 to 7%. Just feel what it does in your body. So we're bigger here now, feeling more emotion, sensation, connection. Yeah. So now I'm going to ask that you turn it down, just 3 to 5%. Just come a little bit back and notice what that feels like for your So to reflect a little, which one did you like best? Is there one that you prefer? Is it useful to know you have a range, that you can turn it up or down? And then finally, in this expanded state, what's different? Did you have the opportunity to feel more hope, more resourced? More connected to yourself and what you care about? So now what I'd like to do is to hear a little bit from each one of you about what this practice was for you. So who would like to begin?
Merle, I'll start.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hi, Selene.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
It felt very other for me, meaning it was really relaxing, but it felt like I was in another world, not the world that I'm in on a day-to-day basis. I felt really transported somewhere else. It didn't really integrate, like even right now, I feel a lot more relaxed. For sure, my whole body is, just kind of floating, but it didn't, I felt, just in an other place.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. Or just my first thought here is, well, could be, the first time that you've done this.
Mm-hmm.
So having it be unfamiliar could make
the place
some.
I went to was familiar. It just didn't seem like it was my day-to-day reality. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Because you asked us to think of a place, and I knew where I wanted, where I went, and it was wonderful. And I've done this before, not this particular exercise, but gone to that place before. It's just, it didn't bring together what I experience, normally. It felt someplace else.
Mm-hmm. Was it a good someplace else?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I'm appreciating. It's like, oh gosh, here I am feeling this hopeful thing. It's like not our usual maybe state. So anyway, thank you very much, Sunny. I appreciate it. Who else would like to share? Yes, please. Janine.
Olivia, yes, and thank you, Merle. I felt coming back home in my body. Coming back home to my body, it was soft and sometimes we want to be there, but we struggle to go there. But it was so natural when you were guiding to get there. And as Sunny said, it's somewhere we know, because it's not unfamiliar, but it's regenerative. You feel like you're going to get rest very deeply.
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing. Like someplace we don't go, and when I listen to you based on the presentation, it's inherent and it's already there, and that we can cultivate this and practice this. And in day-to-day, like I said earlier, coaching and supervision, my Aikidoka, as an Aikidoka, my Aikido practice, these are places that I get resilience. And so I can bring a certain attention to those practices. Like, oh yeah, not only am I practicing Aikido, I'm fostering this innate ability that has me continue to have hope and stay whole. So I think there's places we do engage in resilience that we don't see, have the intention or acknowledge that we do. Thank you very much. Who else?
You could go next.
Oh yeah, okay. Please. Jenny.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel this, all of the shedding of the less important things happening, the ability to de-stress, to let the lesser important details in my life just fall away. Mine is nature, so it's becoming a part of something bigger than myself, a sense of a unity with what really matters, and this enormous feeling of restoration. Just being able to restore myself to some basic state.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much. Okay, Janet.
Thank you. Mine is also nature. And what I noticed when I turned that sensory volume up was there's very similar, I'd have to say, to what Tenny just reported. Resonate quite strongly with that. I also, I live near the forest and I walk almost daily in the forest. And there is a particular place where I can touch that experience. What intrigued me was when you asked us to turn the volume down slightly. So I walk with my dog, and when I did that, then what I noticed was it was like my mind came back in, my brain came back into, so I don't want to say monitor or evaluate in some way, where before that feeling of wholeness, that being one with was absolutely, that's what was strongest. And then I began to think, oh, he's so slow today. like in a judgment, boom, there it was. So that I found that intriguing, but the overall sensation I would say that I brought back was trust, that I can, from this place, I can trust whether it's this, it will work, whatever it is will work out, or all is well, like whatever that is. It just felt like that was a place of trust for me.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, thank you, Janet. In trauma work, and then I know you from your demo with Peter Hawkins. Tell me, Larissa, I see your hand. Just a minute. Then is I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I know. Just turning it up and turning it down. In working with trauma, as people come into their bodies, it's scary. It's very slow, patient work, and just being able to stay longer with the sensations of fear and all that you can imagine people have with trauma. So one of the things early on we teach is a resilience practice, so that they can feel exactly what you say. There is hope. There is a way, that there is a safe space, a place in them too. But what happens as we expand our resilience, we also expand the energy and the sensation. So for some people, they'll say, no, I feel safer. I'm more comfortable when it's not expanded. What we're giving them a range of a positiveness to feel the positive, not the fright. So the tissues get used to, oh, I can handle a little bit more sensation. So turning it up sometimes, you say, and then sometimes it will turn it back down. And for you, Janet, you know, you're a healthy woman here, you know, you go, no, I went back in my head. For other people, they'll go back into their safety, which is their head, their hypervigilance. So that's the background for that. Thanks. Okay, Larissa.
Yeah, actually, I'll be really quick because I think you've both Janet and you have spoken to it. Like you asked which area we felt better with or preferred, and I felt with the just feeling it, getting to that spot and letting it be. I just let go, and it felt like I was at the ocean and I was with the waves, and it was just and then yeah, I guess it's just, you know, pointing to need to practice more, because when you asked us to dial it up or turn it down, it felt more controlling or pushing. It felt less kind of flowy. I didn't like it as it didn't seem to get me to that place of resilience as well. So I'm curious about that, and that we're talking about it.
Yeah, that when you came back in, it wasn't. I mean, I don't, is there a specific question or just?
No, I just, that's what I noticed. And I'm curious about that. You're pointing to it a bit, that it's a bit of a practice, and it doesn't feel necessarily like natural if we're not doing that regularly. I don't know, but I definitely noticed, oh, this feels resourcing, this feels. And then the other one felt like, oh, now it's kind of like it's on my to-do list, or it feels like, you know, the normal day-to-day stuff, right? Like there's a pressure to ramp it up or pressure to turn it down. So I'm just curious. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to say, oh, this is for me, oh, this is a beautiful example of embodied transformation. Because over time with this practice, Larissa, where she is able to cultivate that, it's someone, I want to say you, but could cultivate this more energy, and have, like, be in a new embodied state of relaxation in the eyes and the jaw and the body, the internal organs. So I'll use myself here. I'm relaxed. I'm a little bit I am connected to what surrounds me. Now I have a long-term practice of building this. I'm always aware of my feet on the ground and just that stiffness, but I can be relaxed and present, open, connected, centered, so to speak, that the world looks different. And our psychobiologies change. So under pressure, it's that sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight. And in embodied transformation, as we release those tissues, teach those tissues to relax, the body to hold more sensation, the story and narrative of, oh yeah, I feel hopeful in this body, not afraid. That therefore the world is different. We interpret the world different. We interpret people different, and consequently we act differently. So that's the crux of what embodied transformation is being centered, present, open in a relaxed way. And I'm not saying we're assuming that, oh, every place is safe, because it's not. It's not a safe world in some ways, but we can utilize the wisdom of the body, of these billions of years of cells, that can say, you know, for some reason, this doesn't feel right to me. It also becomes the intuition that we use in our supervision and our coaching. So the more and more we are in our body and live in our body, the more access we have to this other source of wisdom. So before anybody else want to share anything, observations? Yeah, Neil. Hi, Neil.
I felt the same way Larissa felt in the beginning. I grew up at the Jersey Shore, so I went right to the beach, right? And it was like amazing. What was amazing about it was how quickly I went there, like how quickly I settled into that experience, because the muscle memory is so, never left me. But I don't often even think of that image and that experience. So it was transformational so quickly. But when you mentioned okay, how, I don't remember the exact words you used, like if you could bring down the intensity by 10% or 50%, I forget what you said. I actually found that really interesting. Like I thought, as the coach, what's it like to not only honor that experience and use it as a tool, but to develop more of a ownership and agility around adjusting the intensity of the experience within myself and teaching other people to have confidence they could do the same. That's where I went when you invited us to adjust the, in my words, intensity of the experience.
Mm-hmm. And that we have that ability to turn it up or turn it down, and know when we're like, I need to turn it up now. Yeah. Thank you, Neil. Thank you. Yeah, Eva.
Yeah, well, similar to what's been said, but I went into my brain when you asked to turn it up, and I didn't like it. The feeling was, you're taking me away from such a nice place. I went straight to the brain, which I guess I got hypervigilant. And then I noticed I couldn't do that. Neither turn it up or turn it down. You were asking something I couldn't do. I don't know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
So straight to my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that.
So how do we learn to do that? That's the question.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question and pass as a fully acceptable answer? If you think more a little bit with your history, how might that, let's say, inability to be tied in with your history in a way, or?
Well, I don't know, maybe the experience. So let me share what it's again, nature of the sea. And I was in Greece last week for my birthday. So it was a very intense and beautiful experience in the sea. I'm from Rio, I currently live in Germany. I miss the sea. So being back in nature, in the ocean, for me was magical for my birthday. So I think I was at the height of what can be in that moment. I don't think it can be turned up. You could turn it down a bit when you ask, but I felt I want to stay there, leave me there. And then I did feel turning it down. I did feel that. So actually, I did feel that the breath was a bit different, the way I was breathing. But anyway, going back to a question, maybe there is an intensity in everything I do or experience. I don't know. That's something for me to ponder. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for engaging with the question. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Lily. And before I do that, just say thank you so very, very much for engaging and being with me today. It's my resilience. And I leave today just full of appreciation and love and connection for you all and the work that we do. So thank you very much. And I'll see you again.
Thanks, Merle. Let's all take our mutes off and give her a clap however you like to do it. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
that was a great experience. I felt the shift in my body as well. So nice practice. All right, so just to catch up on what's going on in the community, August every third Monday of the month. In August, we have Tracy and Larissa speaking about team coaching supervision. In September, we have our book launch for our very first book it's in publishing right now as we speak in final edit. Anticipated being released in late September. And then in October, Tatiana Bashkarova is coming to speak with us from Oxford Brookes. And for those of you who have your updated profiles on the website, I'll be reaching out to ask you for if you would like a 150-word bio profile that we'll put on a sheet, because the America's Coaches Supervision Network is sponsoring a booth at the Midwest Regional Conference in Milwaukee. So we'll be handing out sheets of the coaches that are registered on the website, if you'd like. Anything else that I've missed, Damien? We're talking about Hawaii next year, whether that's a smart thing or not, as the waves come in again. So literally and figuratively. So we don't know if the conference is going to be in Hawaii. We're having that conversation. Anything else anybody wants to say? Damien, anything you have to add?
We have next week the Asian Coaching Supervisors Network for people who are available. We're going to talk with Michelle, who's here today. We're going to be discussing the 28th coaching conference that came up with the EMCC, European Mentor and Coaching Council. So if you want to know more about what happened during that conference, please join us next week on Tuesday night in the Americas, Wednesday morning in Asia. And we had a book club also coming up. It's the last.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Do you want to share briefly about it for people?
Well, I mean, the information is on the newsletter that you have shared this month. Just one thing, Lily, it has been put twice. I think that there is something I will write to you.
Okay.
So the new thing is that the link has changed. Please go back to this link, not any previous link. Okay. So this one is new.
All right. Great to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you.
And Larissa, you've got a team coaching supervision community practice going?
Yes, that is on the 26th, I believe. Let me just quickly check. 8 to, oh gosh, 26, 8:30 to 10 Mountain Time. And that's for active supervisors who are also practicing team coaching.
All right. Anything else from the community?
We're going to start the group coaching supervision certification if anybody is interested in September. So if anybody wants to learn more about being a group supervisor, it's required to be a supervisor first to have a certification. So if any of the supervisors let us know, with Lily, we're going to be doing that starting in September.
Thank you. Forgot about that. How could I forget about that? All right. So if there's nothing else, then have a fantastic week. All right. See you all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.